From first hunts to lifelong traditions, we're here to honor the heritage, hear the passion, and connect through the stories that make us all hunters. Grab your gear, find your stand, and listen in as we share another journey that shapes a hunter's legacy. This episode is brought to you by Logic Hunt, an app designed for the future of hunting, helping you prepare with purpose and pursue with precision. So we got Randy here. So Randy, thanks for joining us. You said you were on the television for a couple of years. What were you doing on the television?
I was the director of setting up the shows for the hunts and the fishing trips and guide all that for the main host, which was Bodie Owens back then for Whitewater Trails. Yeah, I got to be on there just as well, but I was the kind of the guy that set it all up to make sure we had a successful hunt or successful fishing or whatever the situation was. So I think I was involved like 18 series. We done a lot of stuff. We done a lot of deer hunting and coon hunting and fox hunting and coyote hunting and turtle noodling and walleye fishing and just about everything that you could think of. We done it. There was local stuff. We didn't go out of state. We done everything local.
So, yeah, I appreciate you joining, Randy. I'd like to start off by asking guests, not so much, I know we'll get into hunting, but who you are, a little bit about your career or what you're doing these days. Are you retired? So if you could just
Yeah,
fill us in a little
yeah.
bit.
I got my life back. I got to retire. I worked for the state for 15 years as a structural inspector, but before then, I worked for myself. During my lifetime, I've been fortunate enough. My father was a hunter. And back in my young days, of course, I'm talking 4 or 5 years old, we pretty much lived off the land. We didn't have too much store-bought food because we was poor. So I grew up on a pay lake, and that was the beginning of my career, I guess you could say, because it was my job to go out and catch fish in front of people and let them know there's still fish in there to be caught. So we'd sell night crawlers, and I got to make a few dollars doing that. Like I was telling you earlier, I started out with a slingshot and got up to a 410 and finally got up to a 12 gauge and rifles. By the time I was about 10 or 12, I could take the old cur dog after school and go hunt myself and set traps for groundhogs and dig them out for supper and just all that kind of stuff. When I was 16, I got my own vehicle, so then I had more mobility. My father was an annual hunter. We'd hunt 3 or 4 days a week easily and fish through the summer when the hunting season wasn't around. But like I said, it was important for us to have the food on the table that we caught. So yeah, time I got 18, I moved out and got into coon hunting off my dad with coon dog because the hides were worth a little money, and that made our Christmas money. The way we used to have to depend on some of that, and that was extra money to us. And then it became more of a heritage instead of having food. Well, my dad passed away or got too old to do the coon hunting. Well, I got into the bird dogs more, but we had every kind of dog, squirrel dogs, rabbit dogs. I was a dog man. We always had dogs. We liked dogs. So once I got into the bird dogs pretty good, I started competition in them and got lucky enough to win a couple national championship hunts and world hunts and made state champion and several national champions. So that's what I went into over the last 20, 35 years, actually. So I bred my own dogs and created my own breed. They kept on doing very well. So we got to be well known. Yeah. So I still have my bird dogs. I do a lot of bird hunting. And now I'm retired. And so I take a lot of people on trips and go out west or local stuff up around preserves. And so dogs always been my favorite thing. I love to watch the dogs, and whether it was squirrel dogs or rabbit dogs or coon dogs, any kind of hound dog, from fox to coyote dogs, and seen it all.
Cool. Yeah, I took down some notes. We can dive into this later. But you said you worked for yourself for 15 years. Was that
No,
kind of in the
I worked for the state 15 years. The rest of the time I worked for myself. My dad was a painter. He got me started painting. And then I went to union painting. Then I graduated away from that to start getting heavy equipment and done a lot of excavating work with heavier equipment. And I got to be 50 years old, and it was getting to be a little hard to do all that, and the work was getting thin. So I had an opportunity to go to the state and be a structural inspector. So I learned a lot. That was one of the best educations I ever had because I got to go around and see all the newest and greatest stuff and a different style of people work and how they done it. So it was a great education for me.
So what kind of stuff were you inspecting?
All structural. It was all from hospitals, 5-story buildings to pole barns. I was over 16 counties, so I drove a lot. Anything had anything to do with the state projects. It might have been the state parks, highway, rest areas, universities and hospitals, that kind of stuff.
Was it mainly existing structures that
Yeah.
were maybe getting a little older or stuff that
Nah,
was just built and
it,
needed?
it was a variety of everything. I'd be on $200 million projects to $2,000 projects. It just depended on what it was about. Basically, I had to read the blueprints and make sure they was building it to the blueprints. And that was really all it amounted to. They had to build it according to the approved plans. So they had to have somebody make sure that was going on. And that's who I was.
Must be a pretty smart guy if they trusted you.
I got a lot of education. I thought I knew a lot about it, and I did. But within 15 years, I found I could build anything. I could build a high rise because we got to start from the footer to the roof. And so I got a lot of education out of it. Really did improve my knowledge about construction. It was really good for that. But I love my hunting. So that was one of the things that 15 years, it took away some of my ability to be able to just go, well, it's raining today. I want to go hunting or want to make a trip. Yeah, let's go, guys. We'll go. Because when I worked for myself, I could do that. But once I got that job, well, of course, I had to ask for vacation time. And so it spoiled me for 15 years. But got my life back 5 years ago. I got retired. I'm turning 70 now, so I'm still pretty active. I keep a boat up Lake Erie. Been up there 40 years this year. 40 years I've been up Lake Erie fishing. So, yeah, I still get to do a lot. Can't complain.
Never been to the Great Lakes myself.
You're missing it. The best walleye fishing and steelhead fishing and that you ever get to go to.
That's what I
Smallmouth as
hear.
well. Yeah.
Those smallmouths, I don't fish much. I used to. I got into it a little bit and got busy, but those smallmouths, they'll put up a little bit of a fight, won't they?
We call them jumpers up there because they'll jump 5 foot out of the water when you hook them. And yeah, the game's on. Same way with them steelhead. Steelhead will jump out of that water just like a marlin or something. Yeah. You don't get them in all the time. They fight so hard. They straighten the hook out or finally pull loose. So yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Must have to run braided line.
Everybody use different things. I've done some deep sea fishing and those guys use a heavy line and they use a leader line the last 50 feet. That's the style I go with because that gives me the ability to mistreat that heavier line if I need to compared to that last 50 feet. That braided line, if it gets scratched or scarred at all, even though it's a 50-pound test and 10-pound test diameter, if it gets scratched or scarred, it's going to break. Then you lose fish, lure, and all. So I got away from that. Everybody's done the braided line for years, and I just got away from that because of that more than anything. Tangles up so bad you can't get it untangled. Leader line was my best route.
I always liked the braided line because in Iowa, when we were doing the bass fishing, I love the top water, especially when you get those seaweed patches and you just cut right through that.
Yeah,
That's
man.
fun.
Yeah, top water fishing is always exciting. We have that too. There's a lot of largemouth bass up there. Some of the best bass fishing. I just came back yesterday and we was fishing up there for largemouth bass around the docks and 2 and 3 pounders. It's just what you catch. And it was just, I don't know, I think I caught 8 in about 30 minutes. They was promising of fishing at that point, but it was a free spawn. So being free spawn, they're real active.
Will a smallmouth put up a better fight than a largemouth?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. He don't like being hooked at all. Yeah. He'll come out and throw that hook right back at you.
And yeah, those smallmouth, they're a pretty fish.
Oh, a lot of fun. Yeah. The walleyes are good eaters, of course, but as far as having fun, yeah, the smallmouth and the steelhead as well. Steelheads, they're not the best thing in the world to eat, but my goodness, they certainly are fun to catch.
How big do they get?
20 pound. Like I say, you get one 15-pound, 20, you're going to be lucky to get him in because he
Really?
just fights that much. You just throw that hook sooner or later, break the line or straighten the hook out. Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
What do you use for a reel? Casting reel?
Yeah, they're casting reels, but they're counters. We have counters on them. They come factory with counters. That way you can count how far back you're going with your lure so you know what depth you're going. So there's a zone, usually about 2 foot. You might be in 60, 70 foot of water, but there's usually just about a 2 foot zone that you try to hit target on. So that way, that's where the fish are as well as that's where they're feeding at. If you're too high, you won't catch as many. You're too low, you won't catch as many. But once you find where that 2 foot zone is, then you have more chance of catching them. Yeah.
The type of fishing I did in Iowa didn't have to worry about that.
It's
It's maybe 15 feet deep and you could feel it bounce off the bottom.
Yeah, big water is different fishing. Ocean fishing, same way. It's definitely different, but they troll a lot up there at the lake area. And so that's what we do. We set out boards, might have 15, 18 lines out at a time and, or less or whatever. But Yeah, so you got that many lures fishing at one time. It's like juggling. You got to first start out juggling 3, then you try to do 4, do 5 without tangling up. But yeah, you get steelhead on, yeah, you're going to have to get your lines out of the way because he's going to be all over. Yeah.
My buddy, I don't know if you listen to podcasts, but he was on 3rd episode. He goes out to South Dakota, Canada, Minnesota. I don't think he's ever been out there, but should see if he's interested. Maybe we can link up. He's got a nice boat. Maybe we can come out there and
I go up about every weekend this time of year. Hunting slows down. I don't run the dogs too much this time of year. So it's all about fishing now. Yeah.
what part of Ohio are you in?
I live down by between Cincinnati and Dayton in the southwest corner of Ohio. So it's about a 3.5 hour drive for me to get to Lake Erie, but we do it anyway. Yeah. Like I said, my parents got me started up there about 40 years ago. And so, yeah, we've been going up there a long time. So I know the lake real well. I know all the reefs and all the deep holes and the hot spots, I guess you might say. The western base of Lake Erie is the breeding area for the walleye. So it's only about 30 foot deep. That's where we go in March, April, mid-May, late May. Then June, July, they go more east. So sometimes we'll go more east, start getting over to Cleveland and some of that to be able to keep up with the fish. Yeah, they just spawn in there and they move out.
Is it any good fishing in the middle of summer?
If you go more east, you get towards Pennsylvania, it's still great fishing.
Really?
But the western base warms up. The water gets so warm and the algae comes in there. We have some of that blue-green algae that sits up in there. The fish just don't like it. It depletes the oxygen in the water. So the bait fish, they follow the bait fish, of course, as well. They have the shiners and the perch and the gobies and all that. So that being their main food source, they move with them as well. They get done there spawning out of the rivers and close shore. They move east and follow them as well.
What about in the fall? Does the fishing get a little bit better in the fall compared to
Well,
a deep summer?
they start moving back in about December or January, as far as coming back to spawn again. There's always some fish there, the sheephead and perch and stuff hangs around. But if we're talking about the nice walleye, your females, it's 8, 10, 12 pounders. But yeah, they come back about February, March, they start moving back in. They say they'll travel 5 to 10 miles a day at times. So it don't take
Really?
them too long to get back. There's a lot of studies they do with them up there. They have monitors on some of them, and they pay people to, if you catch one with a tag, then they give you $100 for catching that fish. And then that tells them from where they turned it loose to where they caught it. So the other day, my buddy caught one of those tag fish, and it had went almost 40 miles in 24 hours.
Are you kidding me?
No, we were shocked about that one. The wildlife division said, wow, that fish was just turned loose the day before yesterday. In a little over 24 hours, it was caught. But yeah, maybe that was the only one, but that's how they study them and monitor them.
Throw them back in there after they catch one with a tag?
They have to cut them open to get the tag, and they implant it. So yeah, usually the fish is gone by then. We keep the fish, we cut the throats, let them bleed just like anything else.
Yeah, it's not electronically tracked. It's just a tag.
They have some electronically, but they're so expensive that they don't do much of that. It's easier just tag a bunch of them, and they'll shock them, catch them, tag them, and then turn them back loose.
Just like a shopping tag.
The Great Lakes didn't have walleye very well until it's in the 70s, and Michigan started a big hatchery up there, and that's how the walleye got started. They had a 36-acre hatchery. So from there, they got reproducing in the lakes itself. And so now they're stable on their own. They don't have to do anything to help the hatching. So yeah, it's quite a lake. It's really amazing how the wildlife division done good that they got it started. Now it's number one.
Yeah, without being at the lakes, it's probably hard for me to comprehend how big it is.
Yeah, especially the western base. It's just amazing how we was up there this weekend, like I say. Friday went out, nice, calm. Saturday picks up 12 miles an hour wind. Well, you wouldn't think that's much, but because it came from the northwest, from Canada to Ohio, we had 6-foot waves at a 12-mile-an-hour wind. You think, how did it do that? It's what it does. And then within another 4 or 5 hours, it completely calmed down and turned around and started blowing the opposite way that fast. Yeah, that lake's so hard to predict, especially that shallow wind. It just turns around on you so quick. It's a dangerous lake. You got to be careful out there. You got to watch the weather.
This might be a dumb question, but there's no way you can see from one side to the other, is there?
Yeah, you can see Canada out there. See Michigan from where we're at there. It's 20-some miles, but Yeah, you can see a long way across water on clear days. I've seen days you couldn't see your hand in your face. And that's not a good feeling to be out there and hear people talking, but you can't see them.
It was probably good fishing though, wasn't it?
It's
I'd
been
hope
good
so.
fishing. It's been good fishing for a long time. And we've had some excellent hatches the last 30 years, and that's created the fish. The same thing like all fish. It's a big lake. They can hide. You think they're anywhere you go, you might catch fish. That's not true. You got to find that school of fishes, and then you got to find the ones that's hungry, that's willing to eat. Then you stay in that area if you can. That's how we handle it.
What kind of technology are you running on your boat?
Used to, all we had was a compass. And like I say, it fog in. That's all you had to figure out how to get home with. But of course, now we got the GPSs and fish finding screen with sonar, and as well as we can see all where you're at, where you're going, where you want to go.
Live
So yeah,
scope?
as long as it all works, electronics is as long as it all works, it's great.
You
Yeah,
running
got
live scope?
phones, please.
Live scope?
No, we don't do. I mean, there's guys up there that does some of that, but yeah, we don't do too much of that. Like I say, I came from old school. Take a cane pole and beat some of them guys. It's just same old thing. It's you have to learn how to lay of the land. You learn how to do it. Same thing with my dogs. They have GPSs on the collars now. That's God gift to me because I can't tell you how many times we'd lose the dog in the high grass and have no idea where that dog is. You'd walk for hours and there he'd be on point, just maybe 100 feet from you. But now with the technology where we just look at our handheld device and, oh, yeah, he just right over there. He's on point, or he's done ran off chasing a turkey or something other. Now we got to go find him. Yeah.
Bird's a
Deer
bird,
running
right?
dogs, my gosh. Yeah, for bird dogs. Yeah. Coon dogs, we used to have problems with deer runners. My gosh. Trying to find them, catch them without any kind of device. You earn your keep because they run for miles. And about the time you catch up with them, they're going the opposite direction for miles. And a lot of times we catch them, then be a buck deer almost always that they run. And when the deer finally gets tired, he'll go to water. So he'll be standing up to his neck in water fighting the dogs off because the dogs have to swim and he can stand. So he has a better defense. And so maybe 3 hours later, we'd find the dogs finally baying that deer in the water. And yeah, finally have to catch them and get them out of there.
Ever have raccoons take a fight with some dogs in the water?
Oh my, yeah.
Normally that doesn't end very well.
According to what dog you're talking about. Some dogs can handle it better than others. I've got several scars still on me from coons. I've been through a lot of that's happened over my life coon hunting because, yeah, the fight's on. I mean, it's to death, of course. And yeah, you shoot one out and him not dead. A lot of things can go wrong. They climb right up you trying to get away from the dogs. And that dog jerks that coon off of you. Well, I've had dogs get ate up by him. They used to go to Iowa and there's big coons out there, 30-pound coons. 30-pound coon will whip about 2 dogs at a time. Even though he's been shot, he's still got a lot of fight in him. And yeah, it was about 2 nights or 3 where the dogs had cut all to pieces. We tied the dogs back, shoot the coon out, and then go up, knock the coon in the head while he's stunned. Then the dogs can handle him without getting hurt.
What part of Iowa would you go to?
All over the state, really. It's probably not a county I haven't hardly hunted in that. We talk about my hunting days. People don't believe it, but where we live here, I can go probably 20 miles in any direction. And I've been in every woods, looked up about every tree in my lifetime because we used to hunt that hard and several woods been in hundreds of times. So yeah, when we go out there, we just go wherever people give permission. That's where we go that night. May go to the next county the next night. Hides are worth quite a bit of money back then. That's what we hunted hard, killed a lot of coons. The farmers loved it. They wanted to get rid of me. Imagine how much corn a 30-pound coon can eat. You got a whole litter of them. Yeah, they wanted them out of there.
That's where I live, is Iowa, north central Iowa.
Oh, is that right?
Between Mason City and Decorah.
Yep. I've run it all around Mason City and on up for Cedar Rapids and on up north from there. A lot of bird hunting I've done in Iowa now. We don't coon hunt much no more because the hides ain't worth much, but I do a lot of bird hunting in Iowa, the northwest and the central there around Cedar Rapids on up above Waterloo. And then I'll go down to a little town in southwest called Oakland in Potawatomi County. Yeah. So yeah, I've been all around there, Nebraska and Kansas, Oklahoma and Texas and Missouri and Minnesota. I've hunted all them states for birds. Love my dogs.
The coon numbers are out of control now. They just opened the season up to just like coyotes. It's fair game.
That's great. Yeah, because they're a real nuisance once they get too many. We have the same problem here. Now we got guys that pay to call critter getters. They're licensed to be able to catch them year round. Well, they make a heck of a business. So used to man now that they've learned how to climb up the side of the house, tear off the siding and the overhang and live in the attic. So every building around has problems with coons going up and learning. They know how to do that now. Yeah, I'm glad they done that. North Dakota, they even had a bounty on them. Their bird population bounced back really well because of that bounty. So that was good to see that they trying to get control of it somewhat because they're a real nest buster. They come up on a pheasant nest or a turkey nest or grouse or whatever. And, they just wipe that nest out to get the eggs. My son thermal hunts with the coyotes. I have a lot of fun with that. I've really enjoyed that. I about quit deer hunting because of it. It's just so much more of a challenge to trick that coyote into coming into you and getting that shot on him.
When did you start doing that?
Probably about 6 years ago, about when they first came out with them.
I noticed in the past 5 years, the coyotes have definitely gotten educated or evolved. When I started, you could sit out in the middle of an open section and call them in every time. Now they're getting smarter and smarter every year.
Yeah, a lot more people's got those scopes and amateur callers. So like you say, they get smart pretty quick. If you've hunted enough of them, they always circle you, so they got the wind to their advantage. Yeah, when they come in cautious like that, you get busted awful easily if you don't have your setup right.
And you won't even know they're there.
Yeah. We still got pretty open country here. So yeah, they get very close. They get a couple 100 yards of me. We get them.
It's pretty flat where we're at too, but they can still sneak up on you. You'll be come and you're like, where'd he go? I should be able to see this hot dot in my scope. They find the lowest draws that you can barely pick out the naked eye and just disappear as they come in.
It's out there where you're at, you see them, and the snow tracks tells the story, of course. And they're running the ditches. They're real good about staying out of sight. Even with bird dogs, we go out there with our bird dogs and we'll kill probably 4 to 6 every trip we go out there just from the bird dogs. Bust them out of them ditches and get a shot out of them. Yeah, and coons the same way. So many coons that there's not enough trees for them, and they start living in the grasses and along the ditches. And my dogs will be on point. We're thinking, boy, he's locked up and his eyes are bugged out, muscles flexing, and sure enough, be a coon. Then the fight's on. My dog gets ate up. Yeah.
We had a small coon at the farm, and my dad's like, go get those bird dogs. We had 3 labs and 1 small coon. Those dogs didn't stand a chance. They get mean.
I could tell a lot of stories. We've lost a few dogs. We lost a dog one night who couldn't hear him very good, and hear him some, and couldn't hear him. Well, he had went down a hollow log that was leaning, and he went down in there to fight that coon, and that coon had him face to face. We got him out of there, and he was just cut to ribbons, just shredded. So we tried to doctor him up. And 3rd day, he passed away just from all the bites. And same thing, every now and then we'd be out there, and they'd have a beaver in a trap, and they wouldn't sit right to drown him. Well, the dog comes up on them dogs will fight. That's bred in them. Yeah, and that beaver just cut chunks out of it. Usually you lose the dog over that. They learn how to get away. Some of them learn to bay it and stay back. Yeah, the kill dogs we call. They'll go in there and try their best, and they usually take the bad end of that. Yeah, it's just like a lion dog. They got to learn you can't fool with them. You can bay them, but you can't go in after them.
I've heard stories of raccoons just outsmarting dogs, trying to get them in a creek or something and just getting on the neck and pulling their head underwater.
They get on top of their head. Yeah, they just latch yourself on top of their head, and that weight finally gets them. I've had to wade in, break ice to get to them, keep that from getting them. I've had to shoot them off of them. Sit there and just shoot them off. The dog take a chance of hitting the dog, just get them off of them so they can swim to shore. There's a lot of things that go wrong. My gosh.
We don't have those around here.
Yeah, I've had dogs just the whole face, through their legs, through their tongue, through their mouth. So you pull them quills out for the next hour or 2, and then dog finally heals up, and I'll be dogging they don't go right back and attack another one. You'd think they'd learn, but they got that grit in them. And
I've heard a dog will never get infected from a porcupine.
I don't know who told you that. I've seen their face swell up and their head swell up big as a basketball. You swear they're going to die. Can't eat. They get through their tongue and through their jaws and all the way through their legs. I've seen all that. Them porcupine quills, they're terrible. Sure get infected.
I guess I was reading somewhere that the quills have antibiotics on the end of them or something.
I wouldn't recommend to try it. The dogs swell up. I've never can say I've lost a dog from it, but I've had them almost swell up where they couldn't breathe and have that kind of problem. Eyes closed. It's just, porcupine.
I seen a picture of a girl I know. She is holding on to one. I'm like, you crazy psycho.
If they're not scared, if they don't have the quills out, it's when they're being attacked. About like a skunk, you can pick a skunk by the tail. If feet can't touch the ground while that tail's up, he can't spray you. So you grab a skunk right by the tail and pick him up, he can't spray you because his feet's not on the ground. But how many people wants to run up and try that one?
Imagine a porcupine's like holding on to a walleye. If you hold on to it and grab it from the front to the back, you still don't want to try it.
Yeah, you get that close, he's going to have the quills up. And they almost fly out, they say. They come out so quickly. They don't really shoot out, but by God, it seems like something happens. If you've seen the dogs with quills all the way through their mouth and through their tongue and through their ears, and all the way through their leg, you think there's more to it. They're so sharp, and then they got that barb on them, so you can't hardly pull them backwards. You got to cut them off and pull them through. Nothing good about it. Best thing you do is hope it don't happen to you.
Yeah, I think I got my information from something on like National Geographic. People think they just shoot out, but I think as soon as you put pressure on it, let's say a dog bites it and like puts a little pressure on it when they're out, that's when they release.
Yeah, exactly. And I
So you
mean,
have porcupines where you're at, huh?
now it's always been in Michigan or Minnesota and Wisconsin. They have them up there. And yeah, and we shot them out of trees. They go in a big pine tree, and you see them up there. You think it's a big coon. Shoot them out, and yeah, that's where I've learned to tie the dog back. When it hits the ground, we know what it is better. Then we worry about where we're going to let the dog have it. But what we have now around here, Wildlife Division have been bringing in is the bobcats. Of course, the bobcats is a real great predator with no other predator to fool with them. There's nothing to fight a bobcat that's got any sense. That's where we have lost dogs before. A bobcat lay right on his back. When that dog comes in, they're just grab him by the neck with their mouth and just start digging with the claws and just cut the guts right out of him. Kill a dog within seconds.
The only thing that I could think of that could mess a bobcat up is probably a badger.
And there again, why would they fight? Wolverines, of course, might.
Wolverines where you're at?
No, but something that might challenge one. But not much going to challenge them. They're that kind of an animal. A dog may come in, but yeah, they're big enough. We get them 40 pounds around here. So you get a 40-pound cat with a claw about 2 inches long, 1.75 inches. They're just so deadly about just laying on their back and then just using them claws to just tear up their opponent. So yeah, they're cut all to pieces before they even know what happened to them.
Who do you think would win in between a bobcat and a badger?
I'd say the badger might win because he's got that thick hide and he's got the claws that when he rips, he's going to tear guts out too. No, one dog in my life that got into it with the badger and he didn't make it. The old badger killed him. Same thing. Fight was quick. 15, 20 seconds, the dog let out and died. Yeah,
I don't think a bobcat would stand a chance against a badger.
No, I don't think so either because he got such a tough hide, tough to get to. Can't get no vitals.
They got some claws on them too.
Yeah, and the claws going to do their share of damage. I've seen possums get back in under roots and whip a dog. You wouldn't think a possum, he'd curl up and give up. He get him back in the roots. He can fight pretty good. He slice the dog up pretty good if he wants to fight.
That's life or death for them.
Nature is what it is. You can't predict them all the time. Bobcats are pretty skittish. They don't let you get up on them. The ones we have around here, most people have them on trail cameras. They're hard to see them. Even when we call for coyotes, we get to see one once in a great while. But they're out there because we see them on trail cameras.
I don't think we have bobcats where I hunt, but I know there's plenty of badgers, and I've only had one on camera once.
They're pretty evident where they are because where they dig their burrow. Dig out prairie dogs and groundhogs, and they kill them and eat them.
They'll dig right through a hard rock gravel road.
Oh, like I say, they're bad. They're a bad butt. Yeah. I've only encountered one that I could think of that was my bird dogs. Of course, the dog pointed it, and it was under a bunch of vines and all that. So I said, this don't look like the right spot for a bird to begin with. So I tied the dog, and we started going there, and sure enough, it started the growling and carrying on. And about that time, we saw it take off, and we unloaded on it. Didn't hurt it a bit. It just kept right on going. We don't have them here. Very seldom we hear of a badger, though. That's okay by me.
Oh, they're probably around. My dad has one mounted in his basement, and if you look close at them, their claws, you think about the stuff they dig out and how fast they can dig a hole.
How strong they are. They're very strong. Coons are strong. Coons are amazing how strong they are. Same thing. They grab hold of something, climb up anything, dig after something. This time of year, coons are eating night crawlers. That's one of their biggest diets right now. We catch them out in the fields watching them eat night crawlers with the thermal scopes and stuff. Same thing with coyotes. It's so interesting. Thermal scopes are so cool. Watch coyotes and play with mice.
If you're not used to them, you
Fine.
see something running across and it takes you a while to figure out, what is that? A raccoon? No, it's just a mouse.
We have flying squirrels.
Do you?
They're fun to watch. Yeah, there'll be 6 or 7 at a time floating through the trees, and they look like shooting stars flying through them trees. So they go top the tree, glide down, so we can see them with them scopes. And yeah, they're fun to watch. But yeah, like I said, I'm glad I didn't have them scopes when I was younger, but now we got them. I've enjoyed the heck out of it. Yeah.
I did a coyote tournament, gosh, a couple of years ago, and we went out. We weren't seeing many coyotes, but there's one sit. I bet we could do a 360 and counted over 500 coons.
Yeah. Then that's why I say we go out and get calling. Them coons will go up the tree to see what that is or scares them to whichever one it is. Yeah, we have the same thing with coons. Ain't unusual to see 5, 6 coons at a time.
There's so many. We could have called them in with those e-callers, but there's so many we're almost nervous because we're
Yeah.
just standing out on the road. And hell, who knows? You could have called in 30 at one time, and next thing you know, they'd be right on top of you, because coming from every direction. So we passed on that situation.
Yeah, and they're hard to kill. Them big coons you got out there in Iowa, they're big coons. They got thick hides.
We had
We used to
rifles,
shoot
but
'em.
they're coming in that fast. You gotta be pretty accurate.
Right. And there again, there's just way too many of them. I'm glad they finally did what they did and have open season now on them. Most of the coon hunters that we have with dogs, they don't shoot too many of them. They want them around to be able to tree again. So yeah, a lot of guys don't shoot them like they used to. But like I say, they get their dogs tore up pretty bad too doing it. They only shoot half the ones they tree, even in season. They just let them go so they can tree them again. It became competition in coon dogs and big money in it. So they're all cool about too many coons.
What kind of bird dogs do you run?
English foreigners, like I said, I've been breeding them for 36 years or 37 years now. So I kept breeding to the best I could find in the United States, competition wise. So if one won the big hunt, that's who I go breed to. So yeah, I could win the big hunts too. So yeah, I'm real proud of my dogs. And my wife loves my dogs probably more than me. And so she takes good care of them, and she's really good about encouraging me to go hunt and fish. Anytime I get ready, she starts packing my clothes.
You
It's
sure she's
great
doing
to
that to
have a
support
lady
you
like
or get
that.
rid of you?
Like I say, it's great to have a lady like that. I could go do that and feel comfortable about it. She encourages it. Yeah,
That's
she'll
good.
yell at me if I haven't hunted them dogs in 2 or 3 days. She'll tell me, "You get out there, them dogs need work," and that's what makes a good one.
You get mad at you when they come back in rough shape?
I get cut up pretty bad at times when they get into coons and stuff like that. What do you do? It certainly wasn't on purpose, but we'd be out there in the West, and like I say, a lot of them coons are in the grass. And first thing you know, they're pouring them. But then as soon as they move in, try to do the kill. I've had them attack coyotes, all that. They got some grit to them. Yeah, they'll try it. I got one now. I don't know what makes her do what she does, but she'll just lock face to face with one and fight it out right there. One of them's got to go until I get there. And of course, I get bit trying to separate them, but I got to get them apart, get a dog on a lead chain, choke her off the daggone coon. Time I choke her off, but then the coon, somebody shoots it when it tries to get away. Yeah, it's not a real pleasant scene.
It's hard on dogs. I know if you're hunting them every day, they're probably in better shape. They have those
Oh, yeah.
calluses built out. But when I had a dog up until a couple years ago, you'd go out once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. There'll be sores aboard for 2 or 3 days after.
Yeah. Yeah. The dogs I have, they're like thoroughbred horses. You got to be careful. If they're not in shape, even if they are in shape, they don't know to stop. They will run till they fall over and die. So you got to know where that line is to make sure you don't get past that line where the sugar drops and they go diabetic. They go blind and get wobbly and fall over and go into an epileptic fit. I've seen a few dogs, people take them out and just determined to run 2 hours first trip out. Yeah, lose the dog over it. So yeah, I always carry sugar. I carry honey packets with me. So if I see them getting a little wobbly like that, I get that sugar back in them. And a few minutes, they straighten right up. They feel fine. There's a line you got to watch for bird dogs, especially.
My
They-
lab was
they
the
are
same
quick.
way. She didn't know how to slow down. It was 100 miles an hour. I'm like, dog,
Yeah.
if you would just go at 20% and just prance
Right.
around, you'd be able to hunt all day. But no, she just got to run full blast and you just can't coach them out of it.
I don't know if your bloodline has it, but they put some English foreigner into a lot of the labs way back and call them pointing labs now.
That's what mine was,
And
pointing lab.
okay, yeah. So they put that English pointer in them, and that put a lot more run in them. Your labs originally, lab's one of the best dogs in the world because anybody makes a champion lab, that dog has to be really smart to be able to do everything that they require to be a champion. Just lab, not a pointy lab, but just a lab. So when they crossed them over those pointers, they put the brains in them as well as the grit to keep going. So it was a good cross. The guys got so they enjoyed the hunting with them because they would hunt all day or they would hunt a couple hours. The old labs, they just walk beside you in a couple hours and they just be done. It ain't not even that, an hour, they'd be ready. They was made to sit still in the blind and swim. That was their original bred. Go
My
ahead.
lab looked just like an English pointer. I had to put her down when she was 6 because she ended up getting cancer. The vets, Iowa State's like,
Yeah.
well, just pay $7,000. She'll be good as new. She is my pet, my first dog. And I paid the fee and she died 3 days later. She never got above 40 pounds.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Vets, and I'm not going to say it about all vets, but they work off your heartstrings. They make money by trying. There's a chance, but I've lost a lot of dogs to cancer, and that's just something that's been going on for a while. I don't know. They claim it's some of it's in the dog food, but yeah, we've been having more problems. In the last 20 years, I've seen a lot more dogs die from cancer than ever before.
I'm trying to think, 2017, wasn't even 6 yet.
And you may have a littermate to live to be 12, 15. They're not all the same.
What's the youngest you lost a dog to cancer?
I had a world champion, beat every champion dog in the world, and I lost him at 6. So that was disheartening after all the years of finally made it to the top of the mountain, you might call it, and daggone lost him at 6.
What
so
kind of
yeah,
cancer
that
was
was
that?
depressing. Mass cancer. And that's what hit most of them.
That's what mine
Yeah.
had, where it gets into like the muscles and
Creates a knot, may go back down. And same thing that back then the vets give you that glimmer of hope, so you try. It wasn't no chance. So we don't even try anymore. We just take good care of them till the day comes. I look at it, you're supposed to outlive your dog. And that's just the way you got to look at it. You're supposed to outlive your dog. Dog starts getting 5 or 6. We try to get another one coming up, or maybe 2, 3. I train 3 or 4 dogs at a time. And yeah, I just take it on the chin and go on and figure there's a reason it has to be sometimes.
it's the fastest spreading cancer in dogs that
Yeah.
there's no stopping it.
They
3 days after
they'll
surgery.
operate and cut it out, and they might make it another year, or might make it 6 months. They might make it 6 weeks,
Or
just,
3 days in my
case. And like you say, thousands of dollars later, they pocket it. Yeah, one of the last one, my wife loves her dogs, as I say, and so she had her favorite one, had it. So we went for the operation and tried it. Went back to go get the dog, and he said we lost him on the table. And yeah, that didn't go over very well with my wife. We got charged the money and lost the dog. It's just, after that, we just, yeah, that's just a waste of our money. We just go ahead and take good care of them, love them till that day comes. I got a graveyard of a lot of good bred dogs, a lot of champion dogs. Go down there and look at them every now and then, remember some of the days. Go on to the next one. That's what you're supposed to do, is outlive your dog.
Yeah, it's been a couple years since I lost my dog and I haven't bought one yet.
That's the only way you get over it, really. Get on to the next one. I love breaking young dogs. That's to see them graduate up just like going through school, starting from their ABCs up to where they can read a book. Yeah, that's how I look at it. I get them started early in life. And time they're 9 months to a year old, I'll have them doing about everything I want them to do. Then from then on, it's just game's on and you have some fun.
Yeah, part of it is just all the stuff I have going on and not being able to spend the time training.
That's what you got to have, the facilities to do it. I'm lucky to have a place where I can train my dogs. I recall my quail, so I don't have to buy a lot of quail. I have a recall pen to where I turn the birds loose, and next morning they're back in their pen. So that really helps a lot as far as training a dog. And the birds are good, healthy, strong birds when you do that. They act like wild birds.
You got throwers for the quail?
No, the quail, like I said, in my recall pen, I use an old truck cab. That's all I use, a camper that you put on the back of a truck. And all I do, I got a funnel in one end and a door in the back end to feed water. And I open that back door, let them out, and they fly off and go all over the place. And we close the door. Next morning, they're back. So when they go out there, I just turn the dogs loose. It's like hunting wild birds to them. And the birds learn as well. I don't shoot them. Don't have to shoot all of them. I shoot a few for them. Most of the time, I never shoot them. I just learn them to hold point, back, and do all that, and then I finally get the retrieving done. It's a joy to watch good bird dogs. It really is, especially pointing dogs. I really enjoy the intensity and the drive that's in them. And like I say, when you start them out not knowing anything, and within 9 months to a year, you got them doing all these things. It's a good feeling. It's fun to have a good dog.
3 to 4 year old is where they really start taking off. It takes a couple years out in
Well,
the field.
they usually got some experience under the belt by then. I had one that I hunted really hard, had her really knowing how to handle wild birds. And she would go down a fence row and never go no closer than 50 foot to that fence row her first cast. And she may go 300, 400 yards. But if she smelt them birds, she would stand on her hind feet and win them. And then she'd go down and she would herd them just like a herd dog. She'd go up one side of that fence line and stop them, turn around, come back, and walk sideways doing it and stop them till they finally found a place they felt safe to set. Then she'd hold them like until the cows came home, and we get up there and have them. And if they started to run again, she'd break and go around and stop them again. So that's the kind of stuff that you can't train. That's just experience that they finally get. So yeah, those kind of dogs hard to find.
English pointers, extremely natural pointers like a German
Oh
short.
yeah, 8 weeks old. You can take a fishing pole with a line and put a wing on it, and yeah, they're locked right up and point. Looks just like $1 million standing there pointing that wing. So that's one of the ways we can see what kind of style they're going to have, whether it's a good straight tail and a good high head. I kind of pick my pups out by doing that.
A lab will do
Yeah.
that too, but you have to work with them to get them to lock in. First instinct is flushing.
They're bred some to point. A lot of difference between 100+ years of genetically breeding bird dogs compared to crossbreeding and you expect it's just not hardly there. Some of it's there, but they're different. They're trained to track.
To do the woe training.
Yes. Well, all dogs, you got to do some of that. I found to get the dogs understanding that they got to wait till I'm up there and I got to flush the bird and all that. Because all dogs go in after that bird. If you get it through their head, they got to wait for me, that we're a team. They don't get the bird in the mouth till I do the flushing. And of course, the more classier bird dogs is horseback dogs, where you got to ride horses to keep up with those dogs. They'll go a quarter mile before they even turn around and start hunting. Some of them dogs will. But when they stop and finally point a covey of birds, then the handle gets off, goes up, flush the covey, shoots up in the air, and the dog's got to stand perfectly still through all that. So that's some of the more classy pointers that you'll see.
So how does an English pointer point? And when I ask that, a German short hair, as soon as they smell it, they're stopped and pointed. When my
That's
English,
what
they'll stop on a dime and point.
we call it slam pointing. Yeah, they smoke. I've had them fall completely over, do a somersault, and come up and just be quivering. They'd be so intensely on that bird. So yeah, that's pedigree. There again, we breed a lot towards that. So that's why it's in them like that. You bring that out by encouraging it. Yeah. So
See,
some dogs is more of it.
a lab, I'm sure you could train it to point as soon as it smells, but my dad had a dog that it is a pointing lab and she would point every bird, but she would crawl until she is right on top of it.
And that's where again, domestic birds, if they get away with that. Some of the better birds to try to hunt with young dogs is grouse. Because a lot of times once that dog stops and that grouse is sitting, that dog so much makes one step, that grouse will fly. Dog learns real quick then that he's not allowed to move. Pop-up pins are good for that. Your dog points. If he starts making a step forward, hit the button and flush that bird on it. Yeah, that's some of the way you get that solid wait till I get there. Yeah.
I don't
labs,
care.
they're tracked. I mean, all dogs has features in them that people likes to have. The pointing labs, they hunt close with you. They're a pleasure to hunt because you don't have to try to find them. You get a crippled bird, well, they're one of the best dogs out there to find a crippled bird. They'll finally track it down, and they understand that eventually. So you'll find a lot of your cripples with them. So a lot of guys that have a good pointing dog that'll find the covey, and then they'll have a lab or something like that to find the cripples or singles and some of that. So it's a combination.
It's still harder than what I would think for at least my dogs to track a down bird. You'd think that it'd be easy to pick up on that trail and get on it like a
Lab
hound dog.
breed
But
will. There again, you emphasize on what you want them to do. So you take an old bird that's crippled and just start putting it on a string. You let him go run so far, then get your dog out and let him start tracking. Before you know it, yeah, he'll learn that. And of course, he gets rewarded by finding the bird, and You give him a treat and tell him what a great dog he is. It don't take long, just like retrieving. Those guys with the horseback dogs, they never teach their dog to retrieve. So they never put a bird in their mouths. They know they can take a chihuahua and learn it to retrieve by just finally training it to. So all they're looking for is that drive, that hard running drive, and the style and the looks they have. Yeah, so if you ever get around that, you ought to go to it. It's really a great feature. They have some of the best trained horses in the world, as well as some of the best trained dogs in the world. So yeah, you're in the highest class of bird dogs
Horses.
when you got to ride horses, to keep up with the dog. So they have the whole gallery. They may be 50 people in that gallery of horses, and they'll have maybe 5,000 acres to ride on. And they have their bird dogs. They have coveys everywhere in that 5,000 acres. The whole gallery rides watching the dogs, and they have scouts out there that find the dogs on point, and then they'll wave to everybody to come over and watch. The handler will get off the horse and go over and flush the covey, and the dog's got to stand perfectly still. Then they shoot the gun up in the air, and he's got to stand perfectly still through all that. One of the highest class of the dogs to watch bird dogs to do. Yeah, I mean, it's great.
There's two ways I see bird dogs hunting, with the nose in the ground and nose in the air. What do your dogs do?
Heads up. Yeah, same thing when they stop on point. Their head to go up so high, you think they're looking up in the tree or looking up in the sky or something. What's wrong with that dog? Because his head's sticking straight up and his tail's poking straight up. Muscles are flexing and he's quivering and his eyes are bugged. When you walk up to a dog looking like that, you know he's got the game. There's all the intensity there and all the excitement of hunting that dog. And when they come by, you hear them coming. They're pounding the ground so hard when they're hunting so hard. And the dogs I train with the collars we got now, you can have a hunt right around you within 100 feet of you if that's what you like. But they're made to hunt, like I said, maybe 500 yards if you let them do that. And that's what you let them finally understand.
You would think a dog that naturally has their nose to the ground would pick up more birds than one that has it in the air.
Yeah, but a lot of times they don't cover the ground coverage. You're walking around, you got to walk that dog to the birds. These dogs, you just stand around and they'll cover the whole field. So if there's a bird in that fence row or that tree line or halfway in the middle of the field, you give the dog a little time, he'll cover that whole ground. You don't have to walk him. You go to the dog. You know, when he goes on point, you go to the dog instead of having to walk him everywhere to try to find a bird. There's good and bad. Now we got the collars we got where you can keep track of the dog. If he's 300 feet over there or 300 yards, just look on the collar and go, yeah, he's over there hunting. He's not doing anything wrong. And ever since then, that made a lot of difference for letting the dog have his own mind. And when he has his own mind, whether he stays busy hunting instead of worrying about coming back to you all the time. So a lot of times that dog will find a lot more birds by letting him just do it his way than trying to say, yeah, you got to stay in eyesight of me all the time.
The guy I go bird hunting with all the time, he's got a wire hair, and we're talking, we have this big 80-acre piece that's just loaded with birds, and we always try pushing it in a straight line, and we can never get it figured out. They always get up in front of us, and I told them, maybe we just need to let the dog do their thing, and we just follow the dog around instead of trying to pattern the property.
You're exactly right. Pheasants aren't the best birds for pointing dogs to begin with because they don't like to squat very much. Those roosters, they get very educated at all. They just learn to run, outrun the dog or get up way ahead of you and some of that. Now, your quail's just the opposite. Your quail, wherever he lands, he'll just bury up. And your grouse the same way, woodcock and all that. They're a lot more bird dog friendly, you might call it, for getting a dog to point. Now, you can point pheasants, don't get me wrong, but yeah, you're going to flush a lot more birds than you ever get to point.
Maybe that's why I've never hunted grouse or quail, and maybe that's why ever have your dogs catch birds.
Every now and then. We used to take a hunting coat and catch them sometimes live and try to breed them over some domestic stock, which we wasn't supposed to do, of course. But yeah, like I say, pheasants are pretty smart young birds. First part of the season, dogs can point them pretty often. And even sometimes the last part of the season, that snow gets on, they feel like they can bury up and hide from the predators because that's all it is. They're predator wise, and that's what we are to them. It's predators. So they either get away from us or hope you walk by.
Definitely more likely to point late season. Sometimes you have to flush the group up and once they spread out. But there's one hunt a couple years ago we talked about in this podcast that dropped. So it was real cold, windy, snow the night before, and it was a real light, fluffy snow. And the snow didn't quite get to the ground through the CRP the CRP kind of matted down and the snow was on top of it. So there's like a little runway underneath. We were
I've
getting
seen them
birds
do it.
up and the dogs were pointing each bird, but it was hen, hen. And all of a sudden my buddy calls over. He's like, Lexi caught a bird. I'm like, must have been a dead bird. Nope, perfectly live rooster. Just thought it was crazy. We ended up catching 3 or 4 more the same day.
What happens there, and that's how come the coyotes gets them and all that kind of thing, is they just can't break up out of that snow quick enough to dog to pounce on them or a coyote or whatever. They're slow. Pheasants are pretty slow starting out. They got to get that 3 or 4 steps before they can fly. And like I say, when they're under that snow like that happens off and on.
See, that's
Yeah.
what I thought at first, but I don't think that was the case because the hens were getting up just fine, but every single bird they caught was a rooster. And I have a buddy, I was telling this story to. Yeah, that happened to us too. The exact same day, their dogs caught a couple birds and they're all roosters. So roosters must have been hanging tighter or something.
Or they may be dumber. That's the thing. The world of survival. All my training of dogs, females has always been a smarter of the litter, and women sometimes are smarter than the men in a lot of ways. They're survivors. Even though they squat, they let you walk by. I'll tell you something that we discovered years ago was you go through a field like you're saying, and you see all the birds getting up ahead of you, and you think, oh, they got away and all that. Turn around, go right back through that field with your dog, and you'll be shocked how many of them will squat because they ran around behind you and let you walk by them. You go back through that field the second time, you'd be surprised how many birds are still in that field. And they will lock up and let you point them.
Usually they don't lock in too tight the first time, but after you get them up once, then they're more likely to lock in.
Some of them old roosters got spurs about 2 inches long. They're old birds. They know to get away. Yeah. So the young ones, they'll take their chances. Then you walk through there and hopefully you walk on by just like a coyote or fox or anything else. They're waiting for you to go on by. I'm sure you've hunted and seen the rabbit. You just walk by and he pops out behind you. Wait until you walk by, and that's what they'll do. Then they take off.
Even the best bird dogs, I won't say the best of the best, but my dog is pretty good and she'd still miss birds.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Nature's that way. If they could find them all, they would be wiped out. Coyotes, everything, it lives off of it. They'll miss so many, of course. I'm sure you've seen it, but at nighttime, I've had deer stand perfectly still knowing you're looking at them, or daytime even. I had a turkey do it just the other day. I was walking down the path, and I looked over, and there's that turkey just sitting there squatted down right in an open field. I'm going, why is she doing that? She's waiting for me to walk by. As soon as we had eye contact, she got up and ran. She was waiting for me to walk by. I hope I wouldn't see her.
Yeah, pheasants, you'll walk by them, and as soon as you get 10 yards past them, they're going behind you.
Yeah, they'll lay flat. That tail won't stick up. Sometimes you see them run, that tail's up and their head's up. I've seen them lay just flat as a pancake, their head flat and their tail flat and trying to get away and hide. I've had deer crawl by me at night on their knees and think they get by you.
My dad's seen that where a deer was on its knees when they used to shotgun hunt, trying to get through the creek.
Yeah, trying to get by you without you seeing them.
And I had an uncle, they're pushing a real small timber that's full of honeysuckle. And is like those videos with the dog going around this way, the person going around this way, they're trying to catch. He's one of those situations. Deer would go this way, so he'd go this way, and the deer would go here, and it's just on the other side of a thick bush, 10 yards away.
I've seen deer do that with beagle dogs running rabbits, and they just stand on the other side of the thicket and let them go on by if they will. We do it with bird dogs. We pointed in a heavy grass, right? And they had plowed waterways. They took a plow and plowed it so the water would drain better in that marshy kind of place. Dogs on point. I'm thinking, yeah, boy, this is a good place for a bird to be. We got up there and started kicking, and all at once I seen the grass moving. I'm looking at the grass. I'm telling you, the grass wasn't even up to your knees. And that grass started moving, and all at once up came that buck. He wasn't 5 feet from me. Spooked the crap out of me. He came out of there, a 12-point buck came out of there and took off running. He was buried under that grass just like a rabbit. I had him a bed under there. And that's where he was holding out. We kicked him right in the rear end, and out there he came. He scared the dog so much, the dog went backwards. Spooked me, too. I couldn't believe the grass were moving all at once.
When we used to push deer, you'd have people walking and people on stand. We finally learned that you have to take 10 steps and stop, look around. It makes them nervous. If you just walk a steady pace, walk a steady pace, they're just going to wait for you to walk by.
They just sidestep you enough till you can't see them. And now they're safe again. They lay right back down.
When you think about it, coyote's probably not going to take down a healthy buck. But if a coyote's walking by a down buck and he just keeps trotting along. The buck's just going about their day. But if the
That's
coyote
right.
stops and starts looking around, then he probably starts getting nervous.
If he feels like he's busted, it's like that turkey I was talking about. If I hadn't got eye contact with him, she'd have probably stood right there and let me walked on by.
You ever step on a turkey like you did that 12-point buck?
I've had my dogs do it. Be on
That'll scare the
point.
bejesus out of you.
Yes, it will. That big bird, because it scares the dogs. They back off, going, "What in the world? The biggest bird they ever seen." Yeah,
About stepped
yeah.
on
I've
them when
had
we used to
point
shotgun
turkeys.
hunt, and you gotta change your underwear after that. They make a lot of noise, man.
Oh, getting limbs and stuff coming out of there. Yeah, it's all fun though. That's the kind of stuff I live to go do every day if I can. Like I said, I'm getting at the age I know I ain't got too much time left, so every moment of my life I'm trying to do something like that. Hunt somewhere, fish somewhere. As long as I got the legs able to walk to do it, I'm going to do it.
You got a lot of pheasant in Ohio, or is it mainly quail?
We got some in the central, but nothing like we used to. When I was in my teens and up to about 25, we had quite a few pheasants in the central. But we had quail when I was young. There was just every fence row had coveys of quail, some multiple coveys. And so we would not shoot them down. We would leave at least 8 in a covey. So we knew exactly about where every covey was because they didn't go far. They would live, as long as you didn't shoot them down too much and the food and the cover was there, they'd be there next year all winter. That's when we was hunting for meat, though. We was more meat hunter. Now I haven't shot a quail in Ohio probably in 25, 30 years. Yeah.
Really?
I belong to Pheasants Forever. I'm the president of the chapter of Butler County. So we work really hard at trying to get our quail to come back. We plant all kinds of habitat all over Ohio and especially our county to help the birds. I just think we should even hunt them. We just don't. And there again, they would rebound quickly if it wasn't for the predators. We just got overwhelmed with hawks and nest busters. Yeah.
So
When I was growing up, we had the red. Go ahead.
most of your bird hunting is pheasant in Ohio?
Quail. Yeah. We have a few pheasant in central.
I thought you said you hadn't
Quail.
shot a quail in 30 years.
No, I just don't shoot them. I hunt the dogs around them,
Oh, okay.
but I don't shoot them. You shoot them, you can't point them again. So, yeah, I just leave them alone. And then I train more on domestic birds than I do wild birds. We just don't have enough wild birds, from my opinion, to be shooting them anyway. Now, when I was growing up, we had plenty. The winter of 77 and the winter of 78 wiped out all the quail. It absolutely destroyed them and killed them all. So, yeah, the quail we have now has mostly been from people like me that turned loose birds, and some of them survived and been able to reproduce. And some of that, like I say, we try so hard to get them to come back that shooting them just isn't something we do. Like I say, once you shoot them, you can't point them again. So we just leave the wild ones alone. I've seen them in Iowa. And the Hungarians, they're an interesting bird to try to.
I thought they were going to start showing around because 5, 6, 7 years ago, back at the farm, my dad would see them all the time and actually had to peel a bunch of them out of some net wrap on some cornstalk bales. They never really took off.
Yeah, Northwest got them pretty good. Last year I was up there, and yeah, I probably seen 7 or 8 flocks of them. But we had a snow on too.
Those, you got to be a pretty good shot to get those babies.
You're lucky to get an even point. Yeah, they keep a sentry bird. When they finally get calm enough to feed, they'll have one bird sit on a tree or post and watch out for whatever. And that bird gives a certain sound. The way they go, they're gone. So yeah, they're a hard bird to pin down. You bust them up, and sometimes they want to sit down and wait till you get up there on them. But
They fly fast.
They regroup so fast, they don't give you a chance to hardly get on them. Now, that's the ones in Iowa. Out west farther, they've never seen man. You know, you get in Oregon and some of that area, and Utah. So, yeah, they're not near as scared of man. But, yeah, the ones in Iowa, they're skittish.
We got quite a bit of pheasant in Iowa. If you ever make it
Yeah.
this where it's
Yeah,
7, 8 years ago, it was pretty down, but it's come back a lot.
it has. And a lot of it's due to clubs like ours that's encouraged the habitat, rebound the habitat. Because that's what it takes. They got to have habitat to be able to survive through the winter and be able to nest the following spring without the predators catching them. Because you guys get snow out there, well, it's hard for a bird to not be out in the open and get caught. And of course, we protect the hawks. And when I was growing up, on a bird hawk we had was a red tail. Well, now we got 7 different breeds of hawks. And Coopers and ghost hawks, they're just deadly on birds. They can catch birds out of the air so easily. It's just, I've watched them do things. I've seen Coopers get down on the ground, be on the ground, chase the covey of birds through the brush pile. I think, well, the hawk's behind me. Then they'll take the chance to fly, and the one sitting in the tree waiting on them stats for them. And just, so yeah, it's just, that's why they don't make it very well.
We got a lot of bald eagles by us, a
They,
lot.
yeah, they're hard on game. People don't know it, but yeah, they can catch anything.
You don't realize how big they are.
Yeah, they have no problem carrying off a bird or a rabbit or catching a duck in the air. They do
Small
a lot.
dog.
Small dogs, cats. They do some
Shit,
of
they'd
that
grab a
even.
coyote and pick it up if they could.
Yeah, they say they catch a young lamb, deer, fawns. Yeah, but they're similar. Coyotes, they eat a lot of mice, what I've watched and studied from them. But when they get hungry and the mice aren't moving because of the cold weather, then they start emphasizing on everything else. But they're an opportunist. If they got a deer down or, yeah, they'll work on that. Yeah,
So
yeah,
this was right in the farm at the farm. So
yeah,
that was 20 yards out of our main shop. And these new phones will
yeah.
do a live photo, and I must have just hit it right to get that bald eagle picture like that. We got a big cattle farm, and that was right on a grain bin in the middle of the farm.
And like I say, they used to be scared to be around a man. They used to never land on the barn or like that. They knew better. They get shot. So yeah, now they're protected so much, nobody do nothing about protecting them.
I don't know how smart they are, but God, they must be dumb in a sense because around us, you'll get those giant nests, and I imagine they probably like the dead trees because no leaves and they can see. But that damn the branch will break, and they'll have to rebuild it every year instead of finding a good branch that'll
Yeah,
last a few years.
nature's way. They accept all that and go on. Sure. Yeah, they're remarkable. I'm glad to see we have hawks and owls and eagles and all that because there should be room for all of them. But man, they've been protected so long now, we just got an overabundance of them. And it takes a toll on the small game. It just does. And Wildlife Division ain't going to do a thing about that. They just try to plant habitat. That's all you can do. Plant the habitat where they can't get caught. That's what our club does. We try to plant milo, and that's a great food plot for them through the winter to survive. So that's what we thought the best thing we could do for us, what we're allowed to do.
Yeah, that's as good as anything to plant for pheasants and birds.
Yeah, yeah. All game. If we plant that, we'll have cameras out there and we'll have all the songbirds, all the deer, squirrels. They'll cut that milo head off and carry it off. Everything, especially when it gets time of year, they have a hard time finding food. One of the problems it ain't a problem, but one of the things happens 25, 35 years ago, the corn pickers would leave a lot of corn out in the field. Well, now they got pickers that's so much more 85 to 95% sufficient picking the corn. So there's nothing out there in the field for them. And then they go through and disc them up usually before winter comes. Yeah, that's hard on the wildlife. They just don't make it as good as they used to. Yeah.
One of the best food plots I ever hunted at was for pheasant. It was a 10-acre plot, and they split it in half. It was corn throughout this 10 acres. I think they planted the whole thing the first year. Second year, they mowed down half and replanted it and left that other 5 acres.
Yeah.
So it was just covered in giant ragweed and stuff like that. And holy cow, we got a lot of birds out of that
Yeah.
second year patch.
There again, that gave them enough area to nest and raise their young.
They like that weed seed.
Yeah. They have seeds. It's just like now. They don't have much weed seed right now, of course, so they got to have bugs and greens. That's what they're living on now, especially the day-old chicks. So that season goes on to about August, and then some of the weeds actually start producing seed. And then, of course, in the winter, they live on nothing but some kind of seed, whether it's grain seed or wild seed or whatever. Right now, their biggest thing is bugs, worms, greens. So that's high protein, and that's what they need this time of year. Got to try to help them all the way through the season, but they say we lose 80% of the vitality of quail is during December till April. And that's because the winter having a hard time finding their food, getting covered where they're not being seen. Predators.
Notice a lot more of them. Maybe it's just because we have more birds running through the timber and kind of spending days in the timber. I don't know if they're doing that to find food or to hide from predators.
All the above. As long as they can get to the ground, they can survive days without food. If it comes that certain kind of snow. We used to have quail go into groundhog holes. We call them groundhog holes because they dig them, but rabbits would use them as well. But yeah, you can see the tracks in the snow where they go right in there and live during the winter up under root banks. They become survivors. Same way with pheasants. I'm sure you've seen certain snowstorms out there. They'll live out in the middle of that plowed field during the night. just because the predators ain't looking for them there. When it comes that certain snow, then they're going to go where that cover is, whether it's a wood line or fence row or whatever it may be.
I'm
Try to
seeing them
get out
run
of that
through the
weather.
through the timber year round, especially if I'm sitting in a bow stand. I got pheasants running by me all the time
Uh,
through the woods.
yeah, that's part of their protection because standing out in that open field sure ain't no good. You have no way of
Exactly.
dodging and getting away. But yeah, the CRP programs is one of the better things that happens out in your country. That they get those
100%.
programs going. That helps a lot. And the Pheasants Forever has tried to create the initiative for farmers to do more of that. And that's not the only program. They have a lot of other initiative programs to plant the grasses and the food plots and stuff.
I suppose it probably hurts all these farmers spraying fence lines too to control the weeds, clean up the brush.
Yeah, they like to be able to not have to turn that tractor too. They got such big equipment now. There's no small farmers no more. All this country around here, 50-acre, 30-acre farmers would have cattle. They'd have hogs and some of that. And the bigger farmers, they was bigger than ever. So they have fence rows everywhere. Unfortunately, they got regulated out of business. Ohio, to transport a hog to the market, you got to bake your trailer to keep any bacteria. Well, it's out there in Iowa as well. You got to have your trailer baked. So it costs a couple $100 to take it to a place to bake that trailer to be able to transport that hog. Well, farmers just couldn't afford it. Small farmers. Now, your big farmers, your Helmel and some of those guys, they have their own bake area they take their trailer to and bake it themselves, and then they hog the hog off. So they get regulated out what happens. So your small farmers just gave up on trying to farm and either sold off or rented it out. So yeah, your farmers now, they're 1,000-acre farmers and got tractors that's half as big as your house. That's the era that we're in. That's what it amounts to. Yeah. So we'll never have some of the things we used to have. Waterways, same thing. The federal government pays big money for the farmers to set up waterways, and then they got to keep it mowed. So old buddy used to say nowadays a rabbit starved to death going across the farm because he has nothing to hide in or nothing to eat no more. It's just what it amounts to. But the farmers don't have to turn the tractor till it gets to a mile away. Well, they love it. They
Saves
make
a lot of time.
no, not to complain, but the farmers just don't have the interest in it like a lot of people like us. We like the hunting. Not all of them, but some.
You know,
I was going to say, my friend in Iowa, we got him started planting food plots, Milo food plots. So he was a big farmer. He done 5,000 acres or bigger. So he had enough land to, okay, I'll put a few food plots out because he had pheasants, but it wasn't a lot. Well, third year of that, it's just unbelievable that the difference in the bird population in that area. They would be in that food plot. We'd jump out 40, 50 birds in a 10-acre food plot. And so he saw the light. So now he's planting food plots all over his place.
where's
Now
he
he's
at?
got more in the southwest corner of Iowa. So they got quail down there as well. And the quail really took off well down in there. He really done good. They sure has helped us as hunters because, like I say, everything's got leased up so bad. And it started out west before it got to Ohio, of course. But yeah, any decent hunting ground, it's leased up. And sure, one guy gets to hunt. They could let multiple people hunt, but not now. And then, of course, they don't want nobody hunting nothing else on their place. So the heritage just went away.
You
It's
think
just all
a
business.
landowner, would you rather have one person pay and hunt it all season or manage 15 different people hunting it? So you can see it
That's
both
part of
ways.
it. That's part of it. Sometimes it's the greed of money. I know a couple of places that people would not let no one hunt, not even their own family. No way they didn't believe in hunting. And the almighty dollar got to them. And once now they let somebody hunt, paid them enough money. We had a deer that was hanging around a place. And this guy, I've grown up around here. No way, nobody, not a family, nobody could hunt. This deer was a monster. Guy offered him $5,500 to hunt a 50-acre place. And he went for it. Within a week, he killed that deer. It was a 238. So yeah, 238 scored deer was a whole lot of deer. But yeah,
I'd probably pay $5,500 if I knew I could hunt a deer that big and nobody else could.
that's what happens. But the problem of it is I never would have been a hunter if my father had to pay someone to hunt. And that's just the way it would be. We couldn't afford to rent nothing. So now we just got to select, like England, around the world to be able to hunt. And that's what it's becoming. You got to be
Turning
able to
into a
the
rich
money.
man sport, isn't it?
It has. And then you get Cabela and some of them. I was in Nebraska, and Cabela's had sucked up unbelievable amount of, and Kansas too, unbelievable amount of acreage. And of course, they sublease it and sublease it. So you get sublease somebody for 2 weeks to hunt, and then somebody else gets it in 2 weeks. So there again, become a rich man to be able to hunt. And I'm not really for that. Like I said, it's just about like sports. A lot of kids don't get to play sports because the parents can't afford to play now. And hunting's gotten to be the same way. You got to pay to hunt. A lot of kids don't get to hunt. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
One
pretty
of,
unfortunate.
yeah. One of the things our club does, we have close to 100 kids and plus for our youth hunt. And we really emphasize it's a 2-day hunt. So we emphasize a lot on gun safety and the ethics of hunting and why we do what we do with our conservation and way of thinking. Because if we had to depend on Humane Society or some of those programs, they don't encourage hunting, so they don't encourage habitat as well. They just say no hunting. That's not the answer. It's you got to produce the habitat, be able to keep going. Because we spend thousands of dollars just to see the wildlife survive and not so much to hunt it. Some of the people that lets us plant, they don't allow hunting, but they want to see the wildlife. So we encourage to do the planting just so that happens too. Because you got to have refuge. If you don't have a refuge area, an isolated area, there again, you're going to lose the seed sooner or later. The problems we have around here, all the parks, the DNR didn't allow no hunting in our parks. The Wildlife Division property you allowed, but the DNR didn't allow no hunting. But now they've changed over that in the last 10 years or more. They allow all the hunting in the DNR parks. So that took away the refuge, seeing the deer that you see. You drive around that park and see 25, 30 deer, some of them nice big bucks. Now you go around that park and you can't even see a deer. So it changed that much. I'm not real big for that either. I realize you got to have refuge. You got to have a place where they can be safe and manage themselves and reproduce. Then from there, they scatter. Yeah, I've talked to the Wildlife Division about it too. We keep helping them financially to buy more public ground to hunt. Sounds like a good thing, but public ground gets so overhunted, the wildlife don't get to really survive there or replenish there. So I keep telling them, you guys need to buy places that has no hunting. Much as I love to hunt, still need to have that refuge area to be able to let them be natural for them to do what they need to do to replenish.
Yeah, wildlife will just get decimated on public hunting just because it's getting hard and harder every year to get on this private ground.
Yeah. And there again, the private grounds get sucked up by leases. So it gets overhunted that way as well. You know, the guys that pays that kind of money, they hunt every day. They get their money's worth. So they kill their limit, maybe more. Things like bow hunters, even by any hunt, you cripple so many you never find. So, you know, the odds of saying I've shot 5 deer and not lose a deer, I don't care what caliber gun you use or what bow you use, it's pretty hard to say you can do that. You're going to lose so many out of it. Same thing, shooting birds, shooting squirrels, shooting rabbits, whatever it is, you're going to lose so many. I don't care how good a dog you got to try to find the cripple. That's how it goes.
Yeah, you know how I like to wrap up my episodes?
No, I don't.
I can give you some time to think about it, but I like to have everybody share 1 or 2 of their most embarrassing hunting stories. Something where they felt like a complete fool or I can't believe I just did that. So if you need some time to think, let me know.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm sure you got a couple that you look back like,
Yeah, you caught me off guard on that one.
take your
I
time.
don't know. Yeah. Well, it's embarrassing. Missing the shots that I shouldn't have missed. I guess that might be something. I pride myself. I don't shoot. Everybody said, why didn't you shoot? If I don't feel like I got a good, clean kill, I don't shoot. So, yeah, I can say I've shot empty at a bird come right out from under my feet. Then I hit with a slingshot, but by golly, you still miss. Everybody miss. If you haven't missed, I haven't hunted very long. Just whatever it was, I didn't focus. I tell people to try to get started on bird hunting. If you take time to look at that bird's eye and actually look him in the eye, you're about sure to shoot that bird because you settle down enough to focus that way. My dad was one of the best shots I ever seen in my life. He had such quick reflexes. And of course, we hunted for the meat so much that he could kill 5 birds on a covey rise. And you get 15, 20 birds coming up at one time, and you can say you shoot 5 times and knock 5 birds down. I'll take my hat off to you because that's almost impossible to do. But he would do it a couple times every season. And killing 3, that was pretty often. They all come up, bang, and there'd be 3 birds laying, and he could tell you whether these roosters or hens. And that's just practice. All that was. And he was that good.
I debate this with people. My nephew started trap shooting. When you're on a bird, what are you looking at on the gun?
I've never used a bead in my life.
That's what I told him. I'm like, are you missing these ones that are going left or right? He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, what are you looking at? He said, I'm looking at the bead. I
Yeah.
told him there's a good video on it. So if you put your hand down like this and put your gun on
Right,
it,
right.
always focus on the bird and you'll be able to just
It
see
should.
in the peripheral where your gun's
It's
going.
the hand-eye coordination. That's why
Instinct.
slingshots, if you ever want to get a kid started right, you get them a slingshot and let them shoot at moving targets. And they'll develop, because you can't really aim with a slingshot. You got to get the hand-eye coordination down. So that's why I say when I got started early with that, it was just amazing how good a shot I've been in my life. And I'll shoot clays very seldom. I ever shoot clay birds. Do it for fun with somebody or something. But as far as hunting birds, you about ask anybody, they'll tell you I have a real high average. Doves, we have dove fields out here, and doves are really challenging bird to shoot. I'll kill a lot of doves and not miss many.
I used to miss a lot of birds going left and right, like getting embarrassed. What
Yeah.
do? You look at YouTube and God, I can't think what the guy's name is. You probably know him. Let me look it up. But he had one video. He said, stop looking down the barrel. Ever since I watched that video, I hardly ever miss anymore.
A friend of mine was a man that built duck calls, one of the most famous duck call builders named Fred Zink. They still have Zink calls. You may have heard of them for ducks and turkeys. And old Fred was the best shot I guess I ever seen for shooting ducks and geese. And he would explain that you got to time that, how fast that bird's going compared to how far lead you have to have. And then he explained to me, it made a ton of sense to me, that you have a string of shots. So it isn't like one blanket of straight wall shot. The string of shot might be 10 foot long, trying
like
to
a
how it
cone.
gets to that duck. So you got to let the bird fly into that string of shot. So that made a lot of sense to me when he explained it that way to me. So that helped me shooting them kind of birds.
The guy that I saw the video, his name is Gil Ash.
I don't know who it is.
He does a lot of coaching on trap shooting.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't trap shoot very seldom. Just go out and have some weekend fun with somebody or sporting clays or something. That's pretty fun. But yeah, my shoulder can't take it no more. Shot so much in my life, my shoulder can't take it like it used to. So I don't shoot 25 rounds at a time. I just shoot when I have to and want to. Yeah.
You got any other embarrassing stories for our listeners?
Another guy named Moon Mullins, he was a good shot. We was all good shots. And I said, well, I don't know. He must be pointing a mouse out in the middle of that open field. I made about 2 more steps and there must be 20 quail came up at the same time.
Really?
Yeah, right between us. It was not 3 feet from us. He caught us all off guard enough. I shot empty. My dad shot 3 times and Paul, he shot 3 times. Never touched a feather. Never touched a feather. Yeah. We just sit there and looked at it. I shot empty. I just kept shooting at this one bird thinking, he's got to come down. He's going to come down. Never touched him. Yeah. Yeah. So that was a good one. We got caught off guard because it was just bare ground. And then birds was colored just enough where you just glanced and you didn't see them, of course. But the old dog had them. She knew it was there.
I've done that before where you're wrapping up a hunt and the dog just wants to wander in the ditch and they're acting birdie, but you think they're just trying to hunt and there's no way there's a bird in there. So you keep walking. Sure enough, dog's 50 yards behind you and all of a sudden gets a bird up. You got to trust your dogs.
That's exactly right. My dog goes on point. Yeah.
You're not assuming it's a mouse anymore.
No, that's happened too. But yeah, once they get experience enough, they understand. I think point rabbits at times and stuff like that. I love dogs. That's the biggest thing that's happened in my life is getting to go behind good squirrel dogs. Good squirrel dogs just last for young kids to go through the woods because they tree it and you can take a kid up there and with a little noise and get him rested against the tree with a rifle or 410 or whatever. A good squirrel dog's just a blast because it's never ending. Sometimes you get that squirrel in your pocket, they'll be treed again. It's just real interesting. It keeps the kids active because of fast action and all that. So yeah, if you ever get a chance to do that, that's a lot of fun.
Good way to get them started.
Oh yeah, sitting in a blind, they're going to get bored pretty quick. You go with a dog, you're always moving the game. You don't always get a shot, but you get your shots, especially squirrel hunting. There's a lot of squirrels here. There are in Iowa too. I used to take my dog out there when I take my bird dogs. And we go in the morning with that squirrel dog and man, we have fun. A lot of squirrels. Yeah. And of course they get running through the trees and trying to hit them with a rifle running through the trees. Then you get tested how good a shot you are. So it's a lot of fun.
You don't have to worry about squirrels taking down dogs either.
No, they usually don't do too much. Them dogs, they grab it, shake it like a rag, and it's over. One of the best hunts I had for about 7 or 8 years, my buddy had mules, and the mules could jump fences. So they were jumping mules, they call it. So he had the 4,000 acres over there, which was a big area. So he had all that area to hunt with the mules and squirrel dogs. He had them mules so well trained that you could stand on the saddle, shoot a shotgun off of them, and they never flinch. The mule would kneel down on his knee, and the dog would retrieve the squirrel to the mule, and the mule wasn't even scared of the dog, and just hand it right to you in hand, never get off the saddle. Now, that was awesome. Of course, we take lunch and a pack of cooler with us, make an all-day ride out of it. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. I've been lucky. I got to do a lot of that kind of stuff. Like I say, I could talk for hours of all that kind of stuff I've got to do.
You never know what to expect when you bring somebody on the podcast, but I'm always glad we didn't get down to the discussion on deer, because that's what we've mostly talked about with other guests, and this is mostly bird hunting, squirrel hunting.
Yeah. I've done plenty of deer hunting. Don't get me wrong. I've killed a lot of trophy deer. Just haven't got to that subject.
Nice to hear something different.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I've certainly enjoyed it. Like I said, I've been lucky in life. I feel I've got to do a lot of it. When my son was growing up, I asked him, where's your buddies at? Because he likes to hunt. He hunts with me a lot, fishes with me a lot. And so, where's your buddies at? One of them come around, we hunt maybe once or twice a year is all they ever got to hunt. And they thought they was hunters. But yeah, it's not like it used to be. Like I said, I growed up, we had to have the meat on the table. I'd come home from school, I'd have squirrels to clean or rabbits to clean. Dad come in with that stuff. It was up to me to clean it. So we have supper. So yeah, you think I'd have got burned out of it. No way. It's just every day is an excitement to me.
Different challenge.
Every day. For running dogs is where that's the ultimate. Having dogs trained, broke, watching their ability to smell. He's talking about how a dog track on the ground. We've had squirrel dogs with squirrels that never touched the ground. That's how much ability they have to be able to just run through the woods and just wind, smell them up in that tree and walk right up on them and tree them. Pretty rare. Don't have too many of them in my life. The coon dogs, I've seen a few of them do that. But that's a dog that got to grow up, really got to live. I'll tell one more story. My dad had to grow up in the mountains. That was what they grew up on. They didn't have no deer or turkey or hardly any wildlife. It was done killed out when he was growing up. Right after Depression, everybody hunted it down. There was nothing, no coons, very few. They had possums, rabbits, and quail a little bit, and squirrels was the biggest thing they had. So they had to live off of that. And he talked about some of the dogs that could tree in that timber that never been cut. So them trees would be 150 feet high, and them dogs could tree a squirrel that high up in the tree and never lose it. Get running through the trees like they do, that dog can keep up with it. Have that ability in a mountain that's straight up and down and still be able to do that kind of thing. The stories I lived through his eyes to talk about it, just amazing of what he's seen as well in his day. Yeah.
That's a good time, isn't it?
They grew up poor and they didn't know it. And they loved it. Yeah. They had the dogs to prove it.
Randy, man, it's been a lot of fun chatting.
You too. Yeah. I like hearing your stories. I get around a lot of people with my clubs and competition. So I've got to enjoy stories. One of the things almost at every meeting that we have, let's start talking about the stories of last month. And yeah, so we're an hour into that before we start the meeting, usually just getting to hear the stories.
You ever listened to podcasts before?
No, I haven't, but I will now.
You'll have to have your boy set you up on my podcast. So it's just how we talked with different people, mostly from Iowa, but I've had a guy from Ohio. I can't think of where he was. And a guy from Kentucky. Last week, a guy from Alabama. I've interviewed somebody from Florida. That'll be in a couple weeks. I got another guy from Kentucky on in a couple weeks, and a guy from Texas that I recorded with a couple days ago. So I'm trying to get to all 50.
Yeah. I have one friend that's big game hunter, right? So you walk in his house, and as soon as you step in, you were standing there for 15, 20 minutes just looking at all his mounts. His house is just a museum of mounts. So he was over in Africa and they wanted him to hunt a lion. It was killing natives in the village. And so he said, sure. The wildlife division got hold of him about it. He said, yeah, I'll hunt that lion. He wound up shooting that lion that night over a zebra and didn't kill it dead. So they went into the cane after it next day. That lion attacked him and grabbed him by the leg and took him off just like a toy, just carried him off. So from being in shock, he stuck that gun stock in that lion's mouth, trying to get him to pry off of it. But while that was going on, he had the guide with him. The guide shot the lion again. Then the lion turned loose on my friend and turned around, jumped the guide and grabbed him by the arm and started dragging him off. So my friend wound up getting together, basically enough to shoot that lion again. So he killed the lion. So here they are in that cane, and the natives wouldn't come in there to help.
The cane.
The lion went in the cane field, and it's 10 foot tall. So the natives would not go in there. They're scared to death of the lion. So the natives wouldn't go in there to help them. So they're bleeding to death. They both had to get tourniquets on them because they're bleeding to death. My friend's leg was broke in 5 places, just crushed. And so they wound up finally getting out of there, crawling out. They had to crawl out. So once they finally seen that the lion was dead, then they started trying to help him. So he passed out from lack of blood. When he woke up, he said he was laying on a wooden table, and he looked around, and there was a guy working on a truck next to him. So it was a mechanic place as well as the hospital. So it wasn't looking good for him. He said the best thing he ever done, he got insurance before he left to be able to helicopter him to anywhere in case something happened. So the helicopter came and got him and took him to Johannesburg. It was a 3-hour ride to get to Johannesburg. With that leg, it took 6 operations before he come back to the United States. And then when he got back here, he had to have 2 more operations. And it was about 1.5 years later, he finally threw away the cane and went back to big game hunting, and he's still doing it today.
That damn lion better be mounted in his house somewhere.
Full-size mount. Yep, full mount. No cape, no
I'd
cane.
look that damn thing in the eyes and say, you think you got me, you son of a bitch?
He still got the gun leaning against it too, that he gnawed. You'll see that stalk. He gnawed that stalk almost in half. He's got the grand slam of everything, all the bears, all the Africa stuff, all the turkeys, you name it. He's got it, and every one of them. Yeah, what an achievement in his life. But it's something to see. To walk into his place, you're at Oz for an hour. You walk around, and there's a story behind every one.
That's what it's about. It's not about the trophy. It's about the stories.
The story tells. When we have our meeting, he comes to it. I said, Mark, what's the newest? What's latest? What did you do lately?
You'll have to put me in touch with him.
I'll probably shoot your ear long enough. You get me started, I'll keep telling stories. But yeah,
definitely appreciate you joining. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. If I can help you any way again, you let me know. If you come down in this area, I'll take you fishing maybe.
All right. We'll definitely be in touch. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you too.
Take care, Randy.
You too.
Thanks again for joining us on another episode of A Hunter's Legacy. Remember, hunting isn't just about the harvest. It's about the journey and the legacy we all leave behind. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with all the other hunters in your life. And if you have a story to tell, we'd love to hear it, because every hunter has a legacy worth sharing.